What up, Dealy Gang? Dealy Kameli here. How have you guys been? A couple days ago, we got a lot of leaks. We got leaks for some new Zexal characters. We got leaks for some new Arc 5 characters and for some new skills. So I'm going to break up these videos. So today we're going to talk about Zexal, and tomorrow we're going to talk about Arc 5, and then we'll talk about the skills later. So guys, let me know about what you think about the upcoming characters and their cards. Let me know what you are wanting to see, and we're just going to talk a little bit about each of the characters and what they could bring to dueling. So let's get into it. Okay, so boom, our first Zexal character is going to be Yugioh, and Yugioh is a Barium Emperor, and they use the Barium Boxer type. So all of these new Zexal characters that were added in the leaks, they are all Barium Emperors, and I initially thought or hoped that they would get their own world, but after we got Garag, it does seem that we are going to be getting the rest of them. So using the Barium Boxer archetype, we actually already have a lot of the monster core. We have all of the monster core for Barium Boxer, as well as one of their Xyz monsters, but these are the three main Xyz monster here: Lead, Yoke, and then Barium Boxer Star Cestus, which is Yugioh's ace, and they've got their C number form as well. Now, something about the Barium Emperors that I do think make their decks much more viable than they were before. We actually have, or are starting to get, a lot of rank up spells, and the fact that we do have access to rank up Magic Barium's Force itself is pretty sick, because all of these numbers basically work for it. And a lot of these effect monsters, they do have way better effects than some of the other Xyz monsters. Just for example, Star Cestus says, if a Barium Boxer monster you control battles a monster, you can detach an Xyz from this card and negate the effects of the opponent's monster until the end turn, and that monster cannot be destroyed by that battle. Also, your opponent takes any battle damage you would have taken. So these effects are pretty powerful. And then the chaos numbers, of course, I'm not so certainly guaranteed that we're going to see them, because especially in Garag's case, that was not something that really came to be. The strategy did not come together. But in the event that we do end up getting chaos forms, something like Comet Cestus, target monster your opponent controls destroy, and if you do inflict damage to your opponent equal to the monster's attack, it's going to be half in Duel Links. But something like that is absolutely massive, and I'm thinking that if going forward they decide to give us access to the chaos Xyz, they may be skill locked, right? These are extremely powerful cards with game-changing effects that I don't think they're going to just want to give us at 3. So let's move on. Barium Boxers, let me know what you guys think. I think they're definitely going to need a skill to really send them to the next level. But let me know what you guys think. All right, moving on to our next character, we've got Vector, and Vector is one of the main antagonists of Yu-Gi-Oh! Zexal, and they have a pretty big card pool that is already in Duel Links. So Vector uses the Gorgonic and Umbral Horror archetypes. All of the Umbral Horror cards are in the game except for Corrupted Keys, and all of the Gorgonic cards are in the game except for Gorgonic Golem. So pretty interesting that we pretty much have a lot of his deck. So it is pretty narrowed down to what's real support cards that we're going to be getting to benefit him as a character. And then their ace is number 104, Masquerade. Now this, I think, is a pretty powerful Xyz monster. 3 level 4 monsters, and once per either player's battle phase, you can detach and negate a monster's effect and then deal damage, and then once per turn you can send the top card of your opponent's deck to the graveyard, and that's not an Xyz material effect. So very powerful card, right? Milling your opponent every turn, and then a monster effect negate during every battle phase. It's not the strongest monster, but it definitely has a super impactful effect. Number 66 is not just another anime card that they had, but if I had to say, I didn't put up number C104 because I think that card is just, it's absolutely way too busted to be seen. But I do think that for Vector as a character, they're probably one of the more complete characters that actually have a great monster core that is going to make Xyz summoning really easy. We already have so many of the actual good support cards that they use the TCG to make, like Umbral Horrors, work as a deck. So when Vector gets added to the game, if we do get free access to number 104, I think that they are going to have one of the stronger appearances out of the Barium Emperors for sure. Okay, now we are on to Mazar. Now Mazar is Kite's big rival in the end of Zexal. He is also a Barium Emperor, and he also uses the Galaxy archetype, just like Kite. And his ace is number 107, Galaxy Eyes Tachyon Dragon, one of my personal favorite cards of all time. And its evolved form. Now, the thing is, I'm thinking that, we already have a lot of Galaxy support, so this is one of the decks that I feel is probably the most supported already, that is proven to be competitively viable, right? So we've seen Galaxy, the deck, Photon Galaxy, whatever you will have it, go through multiple iterations, and this is going to be another thing because Mazar's cards, while he does not use Galaxy monsters in his deck like Kite does, right, does not rely on Galaxy and Photon monsters. What Mazar does is he uses dragon types that become level 8 and they Xyz summon very well, and then I think he also has one Galaxy Dragon monster that I don't know if we're going to get. It seems pretty strong, that's why I didn't put it here, but these are just a couple other cards that work with him in his ace. Specifically, Tachyon Transmigration specifically is an insanely powerful trap card that, if I do think we will see it, it will be, again, in the form of a skill. It's not every day that we get counter traps, and we've been seeing that, when counter traps do get added to the game, they are pretty short-lived just because of how powerful they are. However, I do think that we will be able to get Neo Galaxy Eyes Tachyon Dragon as well as Galaxy Eyes Tachyon Dragon. I don't think that these monsters are overtly powerful, right? Neo Galaxy Eyes Tachyon has a very, very powerful effect that requires you to tribute 2 monsters to get 2 attacks. Now, 2 monsters, TCG, not as big of a problem. In Duel Links, it's going to be, a bigger cost. However, depending on how and what cards and how the deck plays or is forced to play based on the skill, I think it could be very powerful. And we already have many of the main deck dragons that Mazar uses already, like Mythic Tree Dragon and the Mythic Water Dragon that were in the selection box that they got added in Fantastic Arc. Those are really good dragon extenders that they use, and I think with Mazar's archetype, it may give us an opportunity to see more, really good dragon extenders that other decks can use. I'm talking about like, Black Collapse Serpent, the White Dragon Wyver Buster, the Save Frat card. These dragons that just help other dragon decks chain, summon, and extend into more combos. I think that those will be really, really sick to see in the game. And I hope that's what we get with Mazar, because I feel like I'm anticipating them the most because I absolutely love the Galaxy archetype. And, I hope that the new way to play is fun, exciting, and meta-relevant more so than the previous version. All right, moving on. All right, and last but not least, we've got Dumon, also a Barium Emperor, and they utilize the Star Seraph archetype. Now, bro, Star Seraph has been through its trials and tribulations in Duel Links, becoming one of the, or probably the most overpowered Xyz engine in the game. Star Seraph Sovereignty, the card on your screen, is still at 2, and that's why I wanted to put them on the screen just so you can kind of remember how powerful these cards are. And their ace, of course, is the Star Seraph Sentry number 102, requires 3 level 4 light monsters, and then you can detach target face-up monster opponent controls half its attack, also negate its effects. If this face-up card on the field would be destroyed, you can detach one of 60 materials. If you do, any battle damage is halved. So look, I think that these are totally reasonable cards to have in the game. This is probably what they were hoping that you would summon initially, but it would probably have been just a slam dunk to give this to us at the beginning. That's why they wanted to make us wait and then release the character and all that. So I think this card and number C102 Archfiend Seraph, it's going to negate a monster's effects and put its attack points to 0 if you have Star Seraph Sentry as an Xyz material. Look, I think these are definitely reasonable strategies. Star Seraph Sovereignty is at 2. I think they know well enough what they need to do with this archetype to make sure that it is not insanely busted. And with a character, that means skills are going to be coming for this archetype, which means that they could do a lot more to kind of mitigate the cards that they want you to play in the deck. Maybe making you play multiple Star Seraph names, right? Because just thinking back to the past, Star Seraph Scepter and Sovereignty were able to pop off with just these 2 cards in your deck being ran alongside another very powerful engine. So one of the big things that could, hamper this deck in skills, or to kind of balance it like that, is to make you play, right, Star Seraphs, maybe with different names, to kind of just make sure you're fully dialed in to this triple Xyz material summon every single turn, you know, just because it is something that was extremely powerful and overwhelming before. You know, I can definitely see some, you know, archetypal restrictions. You can only summon Star Seraph number 102, or, you know, light fairies or something like that during your turn. So definitely, I think that we'll see some more restrictions, so this deck doesn't just become insanely overpowered once it does get access to more resources. And yeah, that is basically it for the Barium Emperors and the cards that I think that they're going to get in Duel Links. Remember, we're just covering the fact that these characters were leaked. I'm not saying that we are, you know, definitely going to get any of these cards. I'm just giving you an example of a couple things that are missing from Duel Links, and the things that, you know, you would expect to come to Duel Links if they're going to take the time to add a character in the first place. That being, you know, their boss monsters and any missing support cards we do have, because all of these characters have archetypes that are already within Duel Links. These characters are just going to be building off of the card pool that we already have and making sure that these decks have, you know, viable strategies that allow them to compete in the ecosystem, which I think is great, because a lot of these decks were released and they were really bad. You know, Battle and Boxer came out as kind of a filler, and, you know, Veil ended up being a really good hand trap, didn't really do much. Gorgonics and Umbral Horrors, I mean, they're in the game, but they were just released as throwaway rares and normals. Now you're going to be able to make a deck out of them, and they're already in the game. They're rares or normals. You should be able to make a pretty free-to-play one. Galaxy Eyes getting another character to give it more support and more power in a different line of play. I think this is what people wanted, right? Another way to play Galaxy Eyes at a very powerful level. This is perfect. I think it's going to be really great. And Star Seraph, opening options for making this, you know, what once was a pretty oppressive deck, options to make it new and fun and playable, and, you know, actually not toxic in the ecosystem once again. But yeah, I think this is a massive plus. I want to see all of these characters, and I am very excited for what they'll bring to the game. Guys, let me know what you're thinking for each of these characters, and let me know what you're thinking about, you know, what cards you want to see from their archetypes, what cards you think are going to be too powerful to see, and anything that I missed. So guys, peace out, and I'll see you tomorrow.